the UK's secret counter-terror strategy and the fatal flaw that they're hiding. So it's 11 PM on a Tuesday. Check your phone, no internet. You try to ring someone and the call just drops. You look outside and every single street light is off. Not one street, every street. Now, most people assume it's a power cut and go back to bed. But here's the thing. What if it isn't? What if that's the opening move of an attack the UK government has been secretly preparing for and quietly hiding from the public? Now, when most people in Britain think about a terrorist attack, they think Westminster Bridge, a bomb, a van, a knife. Something violent, something visible. But deep inside a series of classified government strategy documents most people will never read, the UK government has been planning for something far more dangerous. A completely silent war, not fought with bullets but with code, biology and coordinated chaos. And what's buried in those documents is not making the evening news. Tonight I open the playbook. The cyber war. Right, so the first threat, and in my view the most immediately dangerous one for everyday people in Britain, is cyber warfare. The UK's 2023 National Risk Register does not pull its punches. It lists a major cyber attack on our critical national infrastructure, the power grid, the banking system, the NHS, as a catastrophic risk. Not a possibility, not a worst case scenario, a catastrophic planning assumption risk. Now, those of you who have been paying attention will remember in 2024 when a Russian-linked ransomware attack hit Synovis, an NHS pathology provider. One attack, one company, the result? Over 11,000 appointments cancelled. More than 1,000 procedures just gone. Patients suffering long-term harm. That was one attack on one company. How could something that targeted a single NHS supplier bring thousands of procedures to a halt? Well, because the way our critical systems are networked, everything is connected, everything is efficient, everything independent, means one point of failure can cascade throughout the entire system. Now, in all the pandemics, wars and cyber threats, that efficiency becomes a terrifying weakness. Now, imagine that level of disruption, but aimed at the national grid itself, or the water treatment system, or our entire banking infrastructure. That is the scenario the government is now legally scrambling to prevent. Under the proposed Cybersecurity and Resilience Bill, companies running critical national infrastructure are legally required to report any significant cyber incident to the National Cybersecurity Centre within 24 hours. They must provide a full report within 72 hours. And for the first time, that legal net extends to managed IT service providers, the companies running the digital backbones of Britain. And in a declared national security crisis, the Secretary of State gains the power to issue direct orders compelling organisations to isolate systems, patch vulnerabilities and shut things down. Now, what does that tell you? As someone who takes emergency preparedness seriously, well, it tells you the government has already accepted that a grid-down cyber attack is not science fiction. It is a planning assumption. The question is not if, the question is what you're doing about it right now. Let's look at the biological threat next. Now, the second pillar of the government's unconventional defence strategy is one that most people find harder to sit with: the biological threat. In 2023, directly off the back of COVID, the UK published its biological security strategy, and I want to be clear about what this document actually is, because it gets misreported all the time. This is not a strategy about stopping the next naturally occurring pandemic. It explicitly prepares for the next deliberate use of biological weapons, and it openly acknowledges something that should be getting far more coverage: that the barriers to creating a devastating biological agent are failing. Advanced gene editing, synthetic biology, the scientific threshold for engineering. Something catastrophic is not what it was 20 years ago. The strategy sets a target: full UK resilient to biological threats by 2030. They are building a biothreats radar run by the National Situation Centre to pull together early warning data from across the government, a dedicated Cabinet Office Coordination Unit, a Biosecurity Leadership Council, and now investing in microbial forensics, basically biological crime scene investigation, to trace the source of any attack and to deter future ones. So what does this mean for us then? Well, it means two things. First, the government absolutely believes this threat is real enough to spend significant money on. You don't build biothreats radars for threats you think are unlikely. Second, and this is the critical bit, the prepare element of the strategy is almost entirely focused on national level response, centralised command, government coordination. What it does not do is tell you, sitting at home in Sunderland or Stoke, what to actually do in the opening hours of a biological event. That gap is yours to fill, and that's why disaster preparedness at the household level matters more now than at any point in the last 50 years, including the Cold War. Now, the hybrid attack, and this is the third threat scenario in the government's playbook. It's the one that keeps security services up at night, the hybrid attack. Not one event, but simultaneous events designed to completely overwhelm every emergency system at once. A bomb in one city, a cyber attack hitting the transport network in another, a marauding attack in a third, all coordinated, all within minutes of each other. The goal isn't just to cause harm, it is to stretch every response to breaking point at the exact same time. Now, this is not theoretical counter-terrorism policing, and MI5 have disrupted 43 late-stage plots since 2017. Many of those showed complex, increasing multi-layer planning. In response, the government built the Counter-Terrorism Operations Centre, CTOC, which physically brings together MI5, counter-terrorism police and the criminal justice system all under one roof. Their job is to find the pattern in the noise before the attack is launched, to identify what's called hostile reconnaissance, the planning phase, before it becomes execution phase. The thinking is sound, but then, guys, here's where the government's own playbook starts to show its cracks. And this is the twist. On paper, the strategy looks comprehensive. You've got the cybersecurity and the resilience bill. You've got the biological security strategy. You have got contest 4 Ps: prevent, pursue, protect, prepare. It looks solid, it looks thorough, and it sounds brilliant. But here's the question nobody in the mainstream press seems to be asking. What happens when 2 of these threats hit us simultaneously? Imagine a state-level cyber attack that specifically targets the safety monitoring systems at a high-containment biological research facility. Which strategy will take over? Who's in charge? The cyber teams or the bio teams? Because right now, these are separate documents run by separate departments with separate response protocols. The government's own national security documents openly admit we're in an era of radical uncertainty. But uncertainty does not respect departmental boundaries. A sophisticated adversary, a state actor, a well-funded terror network absolutely would exploit that gap. And the government, despite all its strategies, has no clear public answer for what happens when the cyber war and the biological threat collide on the same night. The individual strategies are impressive. The integration between them is the weakness, and that's not a conspiracy theory. That's what the documents themselves reveal when you read them together. So what does all of this mean for you? So, 3 things. First, the government's own risk register treats a cyber attack on the grid as a planning assumption. Your prep needs to reflect that. Extended power outage capability is not a fringe concern. It is the most realistic scenario in the government's own documents. Secondly, this biological preparedness is not a face, masks and hand gel scenario only. It means having a plan for sheltering in place, for water you can access without the mains, for medicines you cannot go to a pharmacy for. That is the gap the strategy leaves for you to fill. And thirdly, this is the most important one. The hybrid attack scenario tells you that in a genuine multi-vector crisis, emergency services are going to be overwhelmed simultaneously. That is not my assessment, that is the government's own modelling. Now, in that scenario, the most valuable thing you have is not a generator, it's not a bunker, it's not a stockpile. It is a prepared community. The lone wolf dies first, I've said this before. Now, in the UK, your strongest resource is your back fence. The government has a playbook. Parts of it are genuinely impressive, but the gap between a strategy document in Whitehall and your kitchen table in a real crisis is enormous. And that gap is exactly why this channel exists. Let me know in the comments down below which of these threats concerns you most right now. The cyber attack on the grid, the biological threat, or the coordinated hybrid scenario. What are you actually going to do to prepare to stay safe for it? Let me know, guys. Stay safe and enjoy the next video on your screen right here, right now.